So this is the New Jersey Civil Service application class. If you wanted more excitement, you need to leave the room right now. I have lots of candy to help keep you awake during the class. And I heard from my coworkers in HR, that's how you got sold into coming here, right? You heard there'd be candy. And there is always candy in my classes because I always talk about civil service. And it is a kind of dry, kind of boring subject, but I try to make it a little bit fun if I can. So you might wonder, why did they ask her to teach this class? I used to be the deputy commissioner at Civil Service during the Christie administration when he was governor. And I worked with Bob Check, who some of you may have worked with if you've been a county employee for a while. Bob was your county administrator, and I was lucky enough to work with him. And now I'm retired from PERS, but I do work part-time here at the county. So if you have pension questions, see me afterward. I can help you find out how you can retire and work part-time. I'll tell you all those rules, but today, like I said, we're going to talk about civil service. I'm going to keep getting steps here because people keep coming in and I want to make sure they have the handouts. So how many of you, I asked before, do you know if you're provisional in your title and you don't mind letting everybody else know that, raise your hand. Great. And if you're not provisional, that's okay too, if you have a regular or permanent appointment or an unclassified appointment, because at some point in your career, you may want to take another exam, either an open competitive exam or a promotional exam. And when you do either of those, you have to first fill out an application. And if you don't fill out the application well, all is lost. You will be found ineligible. You will have wasted $25 and time, and you don't want to do that. So the important thing about a civil service application is doing it well. The other reason I tell you this is because roughly 90% of the time, that application is your exam. Civil service gives very few actual written exams, and I'm going to say except in the case of law enforcement and fire service. Almost always they give an exam there. And every now and then, they try to torture one of you with one of their exams. And I mean that. Nice people, smartest people I ever work with, but very often you take their exams and people have come out, they all signed security releases, and right now if you've read about civil service in the paper recently, can you imagine that little department made the headlines? There's a kind of a scandal right now about some cheating that may or may not have gone on with a particular exam. I find it hard to believe it would be a very hard thing to do, to cheat on one of their written exams. You can't bring a cell phone in, you can't wear an iWatch, you can't bring in books, you can't bring in paper. If they did it, I'm curious to hear from my former colleagues what the accusation is actually. So it's rare. So most of the time, the test doesn't really reflect what we do. So the important thing with the application that we're going to walk through is to know your job, know the requirements, and tell civil service what they want to hear. Anybody who's worked with me to fill out their application, and lots of people come to see me in HR. I'm here roughly 2 days a week. So when you are doing your application, if you're worried or you think you want someone to help you a little bit with it, come and see me. We hope today gives you a little bit of an introduction. So some questions people are always ask me. I already have the job. Why do I have to fill out an application? Because that's the civil service system. The state says that all jobs that are classified and competitive should be filled through merit and fitness. So that's what they say the test or the application does. It measures my merit and fitness for the position. I don't know how well it does it, but that's the rule. And the other thing says through competition and merit and fitness. So even though the county may have hired you provisionally, because you weren't already on a civil service list that the county could use, and most times you are not. So civil service, with the exception of law enforcement, civil service made up this word kind of called provisional. So jurisdictions could continue to hire people, and then after you got hired, or after we promote you maybe provisionally, you weren't on a list, then you have to compete with others to maintain that appointment. Does it make sense? No. Kind of backwards? Yeah, but unfortunately, currently, that's the way the system is working. What kinds of applications are there? I ask lots of questions. Does anybody know what kinds of applications for examination there are? Yes.
Open, competitive, and promotional exams.
Right, and there's one more. You know it? It's a qualifying exam. So open competitive exams, and we'll talk a little bit more about them, promotional exams and qualifying exams. How will you know it's time to apply? How do you know when it's time to apply? Yes?
Well, they're
You
on the
don't
civil
know the
service website. I work for the Parks HR
Okay.
department. They're on the civil service website.
Correct.
And HR and Freehold alerts us.
Right, because Trenton alerts Jamie Corbu right now in HR is kind of the primary person who does it, but civil service once a month tells us, here are your promotional announcements and your open competitive announcements. They tell us about 5 days before they go live or on their website. So, you can always go to the New Jersey Civil Service Commission website. There's an area called Job Seekers. Look under there. You can look at announcements that the state has posted, that are posted for other jurisdictions, open competitive, and you can look at the promotional announcements. I tell you that with some caution, and when I get to that, I'll explain it. How do you know if you qualify for the position? And Jeannie, you can't possibly answer every question, but I like the help. Keep it going. How do you know if you're eligible or you qualify for that exam? You read the announcement carefully, one. And two, you read your job description. Has everybody read the New Jersey Civil Service job specification for their current title? Have you read it? Do you know where it is? Have you not read it? Do you not know where it is? If you haven't read it, you don't know where it is, you should get a copy of it. Ask HR. We'll point you. It's on the New Jersey Civil Service Commission website. Same thing under job seekers. There's an area called job descriptions, job specifications. Click on there, type in the name of your job, or if you know your title code, put that in and up will pop your job description. It's going to give you the title, a definition of your job. It'll give you examples of work, and it'll tell you the requirements. Most important part of that, the definition, the examples of work, and the requirements. Below it is something called your knowledge, skill, and ability to do the job. That's important if civil service actually gives a test. So if you get a notice of exam, go back, look at those, because they say that's what they test on, okay? And every job, and I kind of say that because every job might be the same title, but in different departments, we may do different things. In different jurisdictions, we may do different things. That's why I don't think the exams, in the case particularly of civilians, is always useful. Not necessarily a believer in their exam process. Can you prepare in advance for your application? Yes, and we'll get to that. You can now build an online profile. A colleague, Debbie Studer, told me this morning, she said, I have the first one I filled out. It used to be on that really long piece of paper, 2 sides. They don't do it that way anymore. Everything is online now. They moved to an online app some years ago when I worked there, and now they've expanded it. Now you can build your profile ahead of time, and you can update it regularly. And it's a good idea to do that, and we're going to get to that. Who can help you with the process? Yes, keep me employed. Thank you. You got that one. Oh, sorry. Can I apply for examinations if I am not the provisional employee? Jeannie, you can't answer everything. I told you. Yes, Debbie knows too. Yes, you can, depending on the announcement. Is it a promotional? Where do you work? You work in that department? Because you don't work in that department, don't send them $25. Don't fill out the application because they're going to say, I'll keep your 20, and there's no refunds. They only refund if they cancel the announcement.
Or make mistakes.
That's when they cancel an announcement. They'll usually do it then, Jeannie. They cancel then, sometimes late, but they cancel if they make a mistake. They do not refund. If you're found ineligible, if you apply for the wrong symbol, if you apply for a jurisdiction that you're not eligible to apply for, no $25 back. It goes into the New Jersey Civil Service Commission slush fund. Yes, ma'am.
Who determines, like, if you need to work in the county to have that job, or you know how you have to work in Monmouth County to have a Monmouth County job?
That's open competitives are done by resident, there's a residency preference. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So open competitive, so if you got hired into a competitive title, or you changed your title in such a way that civil service didn't deem it a promotion, they made it go through open competitive, the county has a residency preference by resolution on file with civil service. It says we prefer Monmouth County residents, and then we prefer residents of the contiguous counties, so the counties that touch us, and then we drop to the state of New Jersey, and then we drop to the United States of America. But when the announcement comes out for an open competitive, if the county has a provisional, civil service is going to look and see where does that person live. So it's important that you keep your address up to date with HR so that we update it. And they'll look and say, they hired somebody from Ocean County. So we're going to open it up to Monmouth County residents first, and that's the way they'll order you by score, and then residents of the contiguous counties. But I live in Somerset County. I do. It's not a contiguous county. If I apply, I'll be told you don't meet the residency requirement, we're keeping your $25, thanks a million. So that you have to read the residency carefully, and there's a job specification, there's a job announcement in front of you, and you have to kind of make sure you've reviewed that. And if you happen not to live there and you're the provisional, call Jamie or HR, Jamie Corbu in HR immediately, or me or someone else in HR, or let your HR liaison, the county HR, know, because we'll want to update that. Yes, Deb, you had a question. Residency means nothing in a promotional exam, but you have to work in the department in which it's announced for. So if I'm in HR, and if Glenn promoted me, let's say I was a clerk 2, what used to be called the senior clerk, and they promote me to clerk 3, or what used to be called a principal clerk. Oh, that promotional exam is only open to people who work in the HR department. If you work in parks like Jeannie, need not apply, and if you do, what are they going to do? They're all supposed to say, keep your $25. Yep. That help? Did that help? And we'll talk more about it. So there'll be more. These are my questions of all of you, but here are the answers. And they're all on the sheet you have. If you can read it, get your magnifying glasses out. We like to save paper. Why do I have to apply for a job title I already have? You're provisional. And if you don't know if you're provisional or not, make sure you ask your supervisor first, ask your HR liaison in your department, or call HR and we'll help you. What kind of applications? We did that. Open competitive, and there's one in front of you. Take a look at it. You'll see where it refers to who it's open to. In this case, it was only open, it looks like this one. It's only open to residents of Monmouth County. They're the only people that can apply. Why? Because the provisional lives in Monmouth County. But if the provisional moves before the announcement, we got to make sure civil service gets that, so they'll adjust the residency preference accordingly. If you look on their website, you may see state jobs that are open. State pay is great, by the way. You're going to look at them and go, wow, they do right now. They make a lot of money. But they're usually they're statewide. They're open to anybody in the state of New Jersey. If Monmouth County hired somebody who lives in Somerset County, like where I live, it's open to county residents, contiguous county, and then anybody in the state of New Jersey. If Monmouth County hired somebody who lives in Brooklyn, where I used to live, it's open to Monmouth, contiguous counties, the state of New Jersey, and the United States of America, in that order. So I might live in Brooklyn, and I get a perfect score, either on the exam or the score they give my application. I'm going to be down here on the list because of where I live. And I'm not going to talk, veterans' preference is important and might change some of that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Again, how will you know it's time to apply? Jamie's going to let you know. You can look on the website. If you happen to be an HR person or help in HR like Jeannie and Deb do and other people in the room, also you should, these promotional announcements, and I think open competitive announcements, should be conspicuously posted in the department. Some departments have a civil service bulletin board, the old-fashioned way, right? You tack them up. Some have and they'll email everybody in the department, which I think is a great idea too, so no one can say, I didn't know, it wasn't there. If the provisional should be handed a copy of the information, and if the provisional happens to be on leave, disability leave, and approved leave of absence, that's kind of extended, the department wants to make sure they've sent it to them, and I would send it return receipt requested so I can prove they got it. I might email it and snail mail it if somebody's out on leave. If you're one of the people who do that, or if you know someone's on leave, make sure you bring it to your supervisor's attention. They may want their provisional, or they may be eligible to compete. So you want to make sure they're aware of it. Because if civil service finds out we didn't let everybody know, they're going to cancel that announcement or re-announce it, make us repost it and delay getting the list. I should fill in here, everything civil service does is slow. Really, really slow. When I worked there, we got faster. And I will take some credit for that, but that's because I stood over people like the old expression with a whip and a chair. Now they say to me, well, we don't have enough people, we don't have enough money. I'm like, we've been hearing that for forever. Not a good excuse, I don't think. I think there are ways that this could all get sped up. So some of you might say, I've been provisional for 6 months. I'm not shocked. If you said, I've been provisional for more than a year, I get a little worried because civil service's own rule says can't be provisional for more than a year. But they don't enforce it. Why not? Because they can't keep up. It's through their own fault that people stay, usually. Sometimes, if you're the provisional and you just didn't take, oh, I don't want to fill out that application, I forgot about it. Don't forget about it. Don't not fill it out. Don't not take your exam. Why? Because when you're in a provisional status, you have no rights to that type. So the county could say, oh, we promoted you to clerk 3, Grace, but you didn't bother to fill out the application or you didn't get it done in time. We're going to pick somebody else who's on the list. Or civil service may require the county to take somebody else who's on the list. So you could lose the promotion, or if you're hired open competitively, I've had this happen, you might get bumped right out of a job by somebody. So if you work with people who have to fill out their app, make sure they do it. It's really important. So we talked about how you know if you're eligible. Read the job specification, especially the requirements, very carefully. Can you prepare in advance? Yes. You can leave here today, go back to your office, go home, and get a profile built. It's ready to go. You might touch it up, and you'll have to attach it to a symbol. One of these announcements are called symbols by civil service when you get it. Who can help? I can, Jamie can, your supervisors can. But if you can call me, I make appointments with people the days I'm here. I have one tomorrow morning to help somebody with an application. I do it pretty regularly. Can I apply for examinations if I am not the eligible? You can, but I'm going to say this. Read the announcement carefully. So if there's a promotion in your department and you want to apply, I said you have to be in the department. It's also going to tell you what title you need to be in to apply. Sometimes there's an open scope. There's a lot more writing here. It'll say open to anyone in the department who has at least a year of permanent service in the aggregate. So that means you have a regular appointment or a permanent appointment. You've held it for more than a year, and you meet the requirements of the job title. Go back to the job specification. And I'm going to tell you one last little thing that I'm arguing with civil service now about for a county employee. Somebody applied, and they were not even in the same title series, but here at the county, it would be considered a promotion by union contract. Civil service deemed it a lateral movement. So they said to the person, you're ineligible because this isn't a promotion. I said, how would they know that by what you wrote, civil service? And they didn't ask us. So if you're unsure if it equals a promotion for you or someone else, call us and we'll do a title check for you. We have to go in a system and compare 2 titles to each other, and that'll tell us what it is. So read them carefully. I've also had, is anybody here from the Division of Social Services? Before I tell this story, you are. You might have been in on the group that applied for the wrong symbol. So what happened was, and it really wasn't their fault, but civil service did a promotional announcement and an open competitive announcement same time for the same title, and people weren't sure, and they applied. I should have taken the promotional exam, right? But I applied for the open competitive exam. Or I should have taken the open competitive exam, but I applied for the promotional exam. I got civil service to move the applications, but people had to pay another $25. Just keep $25 in mind. I should tell you also, if you are a veteran, there is a reduced fee. I think it's $15 for veterans now. Or if somebody happens to be on general assistance, they're going to have to document that. They don't have to pay the fee at all. I think the fee is silly. I have a job. Now you make me pay $25 to keep my job. It doesn't make any sense. Yes. Yes. People are found ineligible a lot. I mean, either because most of the time they didn't do a good job on the application. They didn't articulate to tell civil service what they want to hear. They didn't follow the instructions, and they didn't tell them. I have people fill out applications and come to me, they prep them. I said, where's your job right now? You didn't list that under experience. Oh, don't they know it? Yeah, sure, they know it, but they're not going to give you credit for it unless you tell them. Or the announcement said you have to upload. Sometimes in an announcement, you'll see that you have to upload a transcript because they want to see that you had the right college credits. You didn't upload the transcript. They're not going to say, oh, they're not going to call you, oh, you mind sending us that transcript? No way. They're going to find you ineligible. I think they should do more to coach people through that a little bit, would help us as a jurisdiction, but they don't. But it's pretty regular. I could be in business. I do consulting also for other jurisdictions. I'm an employee here, but I work for some other jurisdictions, and a lot of what I do is write appeals to the Civil Service Commission. You can appeal a notice, and we'll get to a notice of ineligibility, but if you're found ineligible and you think civil service was just dead wrong, you write a letter. You can do it electronically now, and guess what? They get $20. And if you lose the appeal, do you get a refund? No. So you pay $25 to apply. Even if it's, sometimes I can get them to waive the $20 when it's clearly their fault. Or without an appeal, I can call them and say, you read this wrong. Like, what's going on? And they will quickly fix something, but that's kind of rare. And that's only because the people who do the eligibility work, very nice, very smart people, but they've never done what any of you do for a living. They don't know what it's like to work here. They don't know all the other pressures you have. And honestly, they're not going to call and ask. So the app should be done correctly, but sometimes they just misread what they get. So this is an open competitive announcement. You have a sample of a different one in front of you. But look at this one. This has that open title scope. It's for a title social worker. Social worker require, and it'll tell you again what are the requirements. Every application, see up in the corner, has a symbol number. Open competitive announcements for counties begin with C. Keep track of your symbol number. Everything you get about that application, or if there's an exam, or when you get your grade, or you get on a list, that symbol number will follow it all the way through. So it's a good idea if you're writing to civil service and you have a question, or you call them, I don't know where my application is, the first thing they're going to say is, what's the symbol number? Keep track of the symbol number. Here they list out the requirements. Read them carefully. There's a closing date. On this one, it was June 23rd, 2025. If you submit the application on June 24th, 2025, ineligible. Too late. They take it away. Now it's all electronically. Goes up the first of the month, only on the first of the month. So in a couple of days, I could have showed you live data, but there's nothing up there yet. November 1st, announcements will go up. Sometimes the county doesn't have any in a particular month. Rare, we're a pretty big county. But sometimes we have they're busy with something else and they don't put anything up for us. So there's an area to look at open competitive announcements and an area to look at promotional announcements by county. You find your county, you click it on, you'll see what announcements are there. But you might want to look at the open competitive ones. Symbol number, title, are you the provisional again, or do you qualify? Jurisdiction, pick the right announcement. Sometimes, especially open competitives, when you look at promotional announcements online, you go click on Monmouth County. If you click on Morris County, I used to work there too, and you see that, you go, oh, that looks like a good job. I might apply for that. You're going to pay $25, what's going to happen? You're going to get your $25 back? No. I see how I concentrate on money, but things are tough these days, and $25 is $25. No, they're not going to help you. So make sure you've looked at the jurisdiction. If it's open competitive, you've checked the residency requirement. The application fee, they take it by credit card. If you don't happen to have a credit card or a debit card, you can send them a check. They're going to print off, you say on the system, I want to pay by check. You'll print off a screen that'll be attached to your check when you mail it in to them. Closing date, 4 o'clock on the closing date. The announcement's going to go away. You can't apply, even if you wanted to. So we recently had that problem here at the county, and the supervisor and the department threw themselves under the bus and said it was their fault. Jamie sent it to them, but they lost track of it and never gave it to the provisional. In that case, civil service agreed to accept the late application. Also, I think because there was no competition. If someone's competing with you, that's part of the competition. Did you follow the instructions? No. Did they follow the instructions? Yes. They're on the list then, and you're not. It'll tell you here if you have to have a license for the job. Most of the time you see license in a commercial driver's license. If you work in parks or you work in facilities, a CDL might be required. And sometimes within here, it's going to tell you they want something uploaded. So there is an upload feature that'll show you on the system. Keep the following in mind. If you upload your pumpkin bread recipe by accident, you cannot delete it. It will follow you forever. All the uploads stay there. We had it happen. An employee selected the wrong document when they first went to this new profile, and I said, I'm sure there's a way to delete. I've uploaded the wrong thing to like an email sometimes, and I just delete the attachment before I send it. I called civil service. They said, no. I go, well, that's kind of silly because people have lots of documents they may choose from. Also, there is something you'll see there. If for some reason you went to school offshore, out of the United States, got your degree there, and this requires a degree, you have to have an evaluation service evaluate your degree so that it equates to what the United States degree would be for you. And there are accredited evaluation services that do that. So if you happen to have gotten your degree in the UK and you never had it converted, good idea to do it before you have to apply. Again, I'm sorry to keep saying it, read the requirements. I've had people call me and say, well, it requires a bachelor's degree, but I'm just, 10 credits short. Nope, unless it provides, sometimes when you read a job description, you'll see something that says note right below the requirements. Read that carefully. Sometimes there's what they call a substitution clause. Additional experience instead of a degree, or degree instead of some of the experience requirement, but you have to calculate out what it would be. And if you have a question, you can always call us. They won't always ask for a copy of your degree to be uploaded, so read the announcements carefully. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they're going to ask for a transcript, usually where, give you a title, I think it's accounting assistant. They consider it paraprofessional. And I think it's either 12 or 21. I'm just being, transposing numbers in my head. Accounting credits are required. That's when they want to see it, to make sure you have those accounting credits. Sometimes, too, you'll read it, and they use very specific language. I'll give you an example. We had somebody apply at the county. They're being promoted to an engineering title that required a degree in civil engineering, had like mechanical, like a few types of engineering. She had an engineering technology degree. Civil service said, no. I got them to accept it because we did a little research, and the New Jersey Society of Professional Engineers accepts it as equivalent, so I got civil service to agree to do that. So if you're close but not right on the money, it's worth asking. If you have part of something but not all, or how they'll count it. They'll also tell you the experience you need. So we want to be able to articulate that experience as we go down. And there are things like out-of-title experience. So Debbie, can I pick on you for a minute? The library uses library assistant as like an entry-level title to a library. You work circulation, you help patrons, you shelve books. This is kind of general, but the library has a lady who's very talented, got a lot of art skill, right? And she's been doing there's a title called, I don't think so, there's a title called, I'm not gonna use any names either, called Library Exhibit Artist. Well, she's been doing the work of a library exhibit artist, but she's not in the right title. So we might have to, if she applies for that, when she applies for that title, we might have to argue a little out of title experience. And the county will usually write a letter in support of that if the department asks us to. There are links within here. Look at them, do it. Follow the instructions. It's a test. We want to make sure you can follow instructions. Here's a promotional announcement. So I put one in front of you. I gave you a pretty simple one. This is a little more complicated. This is open. This is Program Coordinator Solid Waste, in case you want to work in reclamation. So this will tell you that you need a degree, what the degree must be in. And it says here the degree, major course of study in physical, chemical, biological, or environmental sciences, or environmental education. You must specify the type of degree you have on your application. Failure to do so will be a rejection from the examination process. In other words, you'll be found ineligible and they'll keep your $25 again. So that all has to happen. Plus, you need 5 years of, here's the key word, professional experience in solid waste management work, two of which will have been the supervisory capacity. You have to make sure all your experience lays that out, that you had professional experience, at least 2 of which you supervised others. Civil service, you can't supervise things or a system or a grant. You supervise people. So that's what they want to hear. And they say at least 3. And that means preparing performance evaluations, making recommendations about discipline, hiring, firing. That's what their definition of being a supervisor is. You can be a professional who hasn't supervised, but you can't be a supervised. You can't, if it says supervisory experience, there's an area on the app where they ask you how many people have you supervised in these jobs, professional staff and support staff, and you have to lay that out for them. In this case, there is a substitution. See, it says, note, possession of a master's degree in physical, chemical, biological, or environmental sciences or environmental engineering from a college or university will sub for 1 year of the experience. Not all of it, just 1. Then you need a little less experience because you're demonstrating you have the master's degree. So, and appointees must provide proof when you see that to the appointing authority. You all know who the county's appointing authority is? Anyone? Glenn Talavera. Nobody's winning candy. I'm sorry, I forgot about the candy. Why didn't somebody stop me? Glenn Talavera is the county's appointing authority. It's not unusual that as the head of HR, typically you're the appointing authority. You get 2 of the same thing. You don't want that. I used to be the appointing authority in the jurisdictions I worked in. So that means he signs off on all this work, and Glenn is responsible for all this work. So if you're unhappy about civil service, complain to Glenn. Don't tell him I said that. Like I said, they're typed. Jeannie, I'm not. Okay, Jeannie, you dig through the bag and pass it along behind you. I'm going to put a couple pieces just around. But Glenn is named as the county's appointing authority. So he represents all of you, all of us who do the work, and the county in all things civil service. And we all help him with that. So you read that carefully. There's a link to the online application included in the announcement. There's a little place. See, click here to file online, way up in the top, underlined in blue. It'll take you right to that. This is a qualifying exam. Why do you do a qualifying exam? This is the exam. This is the app. The whole thing. It's on paper still, I should say. It is not online. Why would you have to do a qualifying application? Yeah, well, yes, okay. They all want to make sure you qualify. Good point. But if your title's been changed laterally, or demotionally. Sometimes too, don't get, ooh, demotion. Sometimes things that we consider a promotion, they consider a demotion. Because there's a union contract and then there's the way civil service organizes titles. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they want to make sure you qualify. No $25, no online application, it's a piece of paper. HR will help you fill it out. HR gets it back because we want to review it. In this case, we review it, make sure you wrote the right thing, and Glenn has to sign it. You can't initiate it yourself. We put your title change in, civil service goes, oops. That's going to require you're provisionally appointed pending a qualifying examination. Yes, Deb, I saw your hand. By civil service, by the title. Yeah. Yes. No, no, no. But promotional, no. Lateral qualifiers, you don't compete. It doesn't get posted. There's no announcement. Civil service is just going to alert Jamie. You've put something, a transaction in that's lateral or demotional. You need to alert that person. They need to fill out a qualifying app. It's what we call it. We call it a qualifying application. They call it an application for qualifying exam. They never give a test in that case. They produce no lists. They simply give you a pass-fail. We send it down to them. They review it. They send us a memo back. You either passed or failed. I've only had one, I think, person fail, and I argued with civil service and they changed the determination. It was a pass. I think they misread it. But again, review the requirements carefully, and we'll usually work with you on that. Does anybody work in facilities with Christy? Christy is the support person in facilities and she works with Mr. Compton in buildings and grounds. She's as good as it gets at helping people fill these out. So if you ever run into Christy, she can also, I'm happy to help people with these also. Pass the can, you have to keep the candy moving or we're in serious trouble. So be prepared when you go to fill out your app. Have your job description. You should have your title history. If anybody needs one, if you're filling out an application, call HR and we'll print out your job history. I'm just watching my time and I'm going to hopefully I have a keyboard here. I do. How many times? It depends on how many times your title's changed and what it's changed to. But if you're in classified competitive service, every time you move up through the ranks there are some of us, almost my whole career, I was what was called an unclassified employee. I never had to do this. But I was an appointee and I had no rights to the discipline process or the layoff process. Unclassified employees can't compete for promotions. Usually, they're described as titles with no expectation of tenure. This is my personal email if any of you ever want to write to me. Let's see if I can remember my password. So this is my profile. This is what you can go back and do right now. You have to register. You can either do that with email or by creating a username. Harder to remember the username, right? You know what your email is. So you can create it as easy as this. Just tab through. This is my contact information. I want to make sure it's right. When I put that I worked I changed things around so you guys would see changes, but I don't live in Brielle. I wish I did. I live in Somerset County. But see, it put a residency code number in for me. Civil service follows that. It applies the code. You don't need to know that. But again, my phone numbers are in here. Please don't look at my date of birth. That's one of the questions I never answer at the end. Weight and date of birth. Never, ever. I just act like you didn't ask me that way, or how old I am. Same thing, right? This is EEO information, what I call that, it is only asked for reporting purposes by civil service. They're not gonna, there's only one way they qualify people. It's called, if an appointing authority said, and I'll pick on the sheriff's office for a minute, if at the correctional facility they said, and I've only done it really for a juvenile detention center, where you have to have a certain number of female juvenile detention officers on staff, depending on your population. Then the appointing authority could say, we have a bona fide occupational reason that we want a list of just female names. So that's when they might use a qualifier. The only time civil service will look at this. The only other thing they do with it is they report it to the federal government. So how many women applied? How many men applied? How many Hispanic people applied? How many Native Americans applied? They just keep a count. It's not used for any other reason. So I'm just clicking through the tabs in the left. Job preference, test location preference. Just because they ask you doesn't mean they're going to give one. And it doesn't mean it's going to be given in the place you pick. So most people here would pick Middlesex or Ocean, just to guess. You might pick Mercer, because those are contiguous counties. You may get a notice that you have an exam in Bergen County. Can I help you with that? No. We try to get them to come here. For some exams, they have been doing that recently, which is great. For police radio, for the comm center, they've been giving exams here. I think they also just gave an exam over in the Human Services building to a group of people that had, so we try to make it as easy as possible. So here we list our education. There's my undergraduate degree and my graduate degree. I told them I have a master's. So if tomorrow I go out and get a PhD in something, I can come back in here, add new education and add it. It's a living application. This is my profile, but it turns into an application when I link it to a symbol. Has anybody done this yet? Yes. Sure, but there might be, in a couple of months, you might want to apply for something again. When a promotional announcement goes up in a department, look, the goal of the department is typically to appoint their provisional. It's always, that's what they do. But getting your name on a list, lists are good for 2 years. So you never know. This is, yes. If you can just go cold and wait until there's an announcement and do this. I just suggest if you have the time, it doesn't take long, why not get it set up? Or especially if you're provisional and you know it's going to happen, we just don't know when. It's month to month that we find out. Get it done now. And usually when people come to see me, they're coming to finalize it. I try to get them, if they can, to do this up front. Some folks don't. I work with a computer every day, you might. Some of our staff doesn't do that, and I don't do what they do. So some need a little more guidance and support through than other people. And you don't have to come to us. You can do it completely on your own, obviously. Yeah? Yeah? Who's your chain? Okay, well, I would work through Steve Padula. That's usually who I work with. But you can let Steve know. I went to Grace's class. I've helped people in the prosecutor's office. Can we reach out to Grace for some support? Okay. If she has a degree here, you would show them that. I would always get it evaluated if I had the other one. I don't think those services, I don't have direct experience with it, but I don't think they charge a lot of money. They do it all online now. It's not like, used to be you had to mail it away and we have to wait weeks to get it back. Was it? Oh, well then never mind. Sorry. But if it doesn't require the degree that's foreign, then don't. You only have to show them as much as you need to qualify for the job also. So I've had people come in and go, well, I'm going to use an example. Before I was a social worker, You know, when I was in college, I worked at Applebee's. Do I need to put that here? Nope. If it doesn't help you, don't do it. It just takes up space. But if it'll help you demonstrate, if one of the things in the job is experience in customer service, and you can put the Applebee's job up and show that you had experience with, and list out under the experience area that you had experience with customer service, then do it. So this is job experience. So I'm going to open one. Let's see, I put my civil service job up there. And so this is what when I fill it out, when you open it, tells you where I worked. I have to have the address, my job title. But also what month and year, what was the time you worked there. And if you're still in that job, you check the currently employed box. If you're not in that particular title or job, don't check it. You put your hours of work. People come in and go, I go, how many hours do you work a week? They go, you know, like 50. Well, that's great. We appreciate that you work extra hours. They're talking about the base hours. How many people did you supervise? So roughly at civil service, I had 20 professional staff that reported to me, and under them, probably about 50 support people. So I just guessed. Now comes the important part, duties. This is where you tell them what they want to hear. The examples of work that you read in a job description. If you just copy those, you're going to get a 0. They're not, I've had people do that. I look at their draft and I look at the job specification because I have that on my desk when I'm doing it, and they're exactly the same. That would be great, but you can't do that. Just rewrite them. Take a highlighter, go through the examples of work, find the things you do and rewrite them. Reword them, use different language. And in every job description, you will see it becomes pretty evident there are key words. I'll give you an example. If you're a buyer, if you're working for Helen in purchasing and you're a buyer for the county, it'll say large-scale purchases. So you might write, I do countywide purchasing of supplies. You want civil service to hear it. And when you get to this part, bullets are fine. Just like a civil service job description, you do not need to write a narrative. That's not necessary. I always do it in bullets. I had to know my supervisor's name, and I know Bob's name, obviously. I made up some numbers. I made up his old email address when we were still at civil service. So keep track of those. If it was previous employers, we can Google it and look it up if you don't remember the address or the phone number and you worked somewhere before here. So if I wanted to add a new job, I'd just do that. Add new experience. So now I might put Monmouth County, Freehold, New Jersey, my job title, the month, and I'm going to do new duties. And then I save it. That's simple. So whenever something new comes, you should update it. Training. I don't know, I did. I put that, is everybody doing their cybersecurity training this week? I didn't get mine done yet. You have to pay attention too because it's a test. But don't record that part, public information, where I complain about the cybersecurity training. It's important. I know why we have to do it, but you can always add that. If you took a new training that supports your job. If you put up there that I took a training in, I don't know, pottery class. Unless you're an arts and crafts instructor or a library exhibit artist, it's probably not going to help you. So don't put it up there. But if you took a training in SNAP, in the food stamp delivery that the county does through social services, you want to put that up there. You'll see SNAP a lot in the newspaper. It needs Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, right? So you're seeing that a lot on the news or in the newspaper. That's why I thought about SNAP. Or you took a Medicare training if you're working there. Or if you took an IT training on a program or a class, and they're giving me the 5 minutes. I'm from Brooklyn. I speak so fast. This should be over by now, but it's not. So if I did an internship, I could put it up there. It doesn't count as job experience unless you're paid. So under the experience I wrote, if you did volunteer internships, they weren't paid, don't put them there, put them here. And that does not count as work experience. If you had a license, you would put it here. I have a commercial driver's license. When did I get it? When did it issue? And last but not least is the attachments area. What kind of attachment am I putting? Am I putting education, a transcript, a license or certification that I'm required to have? Resume, you can put your resume, but make sure it's consistent with what you put in your application. Some of us have a couple resumes. I used to teach second grade. Am I going to post my second grade my teaching resume for this? No. And last but not least, you're going to put up, there'd be down here, and this one I had print a cover sheet. So if I want to mail it, instead of upload it, I print a cover sheet and I put it in the mail. Maybe I don't have it in a format that I could scan it or that civil service would accept, so I might mail it. That, in a nutshell, is the civil service application system. What's the next thing you're going to get from civil service? Make sure I should say review, review, review. It's like document, document, document. Ask your supervisor, ask me, come to HR. If you're at all concerned about it, ask family to take a look at it. Did your requirements, did they meet what's in that job specification? Did you use the civil service buzzword like large scale or professional? Once you upload a document, remember, can't be deleted. Print the application and confirmation page. Why? You never know. What comes next? Civil service will send you a notice of eligibility, meaning they found you eligible. Good news. It's a postcard and an email. If you get a notice of ineligibility and you think they're wrong, call and ask for help on an appeal if it's appropriate. If they're right, they're right, and I'll tell you that. No sense giving them more of your money, and the appeal won't fly. And you can do an appeal online now also. After being found eligible, so first get the eligibility notice, you may get a notice of exam. That means they're actually going to give an exam. Do not ask for makeup. It's going to tell you where to be, what day and what time. Makeups are not really makeups. Like when you were a kid in school and you were going on vacation with your family, and you come in on Monday, the teacher will give you the same exam on Monday. Not going to happen. They're going to make you wait until the next administration, so you may not make the list. And when the list comes out, you'll find out your score and your rank on that list. Finally, when they certify that list to the county, you will get a notice of certification. They all look the same, each one of these things. It'll say you have 5 days to let Glenn Talavera know that you're interested in the appointment, even if you already have that title. So make sure you write to Glenn. You can send him an email. Copy Jamie. It's always a good idea. You can copy me. So we have it too, and we put it with the cert. If you don't respond to the certification notice, we can remove you from the list. We're going to say if they didn't respond with an interest, we're going to remove them from the list. Any questions as fast as you can? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, how do we find out how long we have to hold the title until, I was in one title for a very, very long time, not provisionally, but how can you be clerk 1 for almost 6 years? So,
There is no.
I can't get to clerk 2 until I get.
Well, clerk 1s are, no, clerk 1s, yes, clerk 2, if it gets announced, you've been a clerk 1 for at least a year. That's a non-competitive title. You didn't have to do any of this. You could compete with in the announcement if there's a promotional. Can somebody does everybody automatically move because they're a title? No. The reality is organizations do this, right? They get narrow as they go to the top. Anybody who tells you they have a flat organization is lying to you. I don't think that's true. All organizations do this, and it gets harder and the competition gets steeper. But if you're interested in going to the next level, it means I'm going to do more work, more responsible work. I may need new qualifications. Talk to your supervisor. What do I need to do to be considered for promotion? Put in an interest of promotion. Or you can compete, and if your name is on the list and you're reachable for appointment, and your department decides, yeah, we need another clerk too, and this person's on the list, they've been doing a good job, guess what? You might get the appointment then from that list. Lists are good for 2 years. They expire after 2 years. So if you're on the clerk 2 list and it expires and they announce again, take the test again, you got to pay them another $25. And go. That's why it's a good idea to do this. Update it regularly, because when it announces, you're ready to go. And you won't miss the closing date, which if you miss, what are they going to keep? $25. If you didn't get anything else today, I hope you got that part. I hope I helped a little bit, and I'll see you all when you have to do an application. Feel free to call me. My phone number is the last slide. You'll see it there, my office phone number here at the county. I'm usually here 2 days a week. Call if you need help. Thanks, everybody.